Nestled high in the formidable Himalayas, the nations of Nepal and Bhutan occupy a uniquely strategic space. They are not just mountainous kingdoms of stunning beauty and ancient culture, they are the physical buffer separating two of Asia's most powerful giants, India and China. For centuries, this geography has defined their existence, placing them at the heart of a complex geopolitical landscape. Their location is not merely a point on a map. It represents a critical land bridge, a frontier where the ambitions of New Delhi and Beijing meet. The stability and political alignment of these two small countries have profound implications for the entire region, making them far more significant than their size might suggest. This is a story about geography, power, and the delicate balance that has long defined this rooftop of the world. Historically, India has been the dominant external power in this region, a natural consequence of shared history, culture, and religion. For Nepal, a Hindu-majority nation, the connection to India is deep and multifaceted, woven through centuries of spiritual pilgrimage, trade, and familial ties. The open border between them is a testament to this unique relationship, allowing for the free movement of people and goods, fostering a level of integration rarely seen between sovereign states. This bond is not just about sentiment. It is a practical reality that has shaped Nepal's economy, society, and foreign policy for generations. India was, for a very long time, seen not just as a neighbor, but as an elder brother, a primary partner in development and security. Similarly, Bhutan, the reclusive Buddhist kingdom, has maintained an exceptionally close and treaty-bound relationship with India. Since the signing of the Treaty of Friendship in 1949, New Delhi has guided Bhutan's foreign policy and been its largest trading and development partner. This special relationship provided Bhutan with a security guarantee, allowing it to preserve its unique culture and cautious approach to the outside world while navigating the complexities of its location. For India, this partnership ensured that its northern flank, bordering China's restive Tibetan plateau, remained secure and friendly. The arrangement was mutually beneficial, creating a sphere of influence for India that was built on trust, shared values, and strategic necessity. But the geopolitical certainties of the 20th century are now giving way to a new and more contested reality. The ground is shifting, quite literally, as new roads and railways are being built across these mountains. The old dynamics, where India was the undisputed primary partner for both Kathmandu and Thimphu, are being challenged. A new, powerful player has arrived with a different vision for the region, backed by immense financial resources and a clear strategic agenda. This has introduced an element of competition that was previously absent, forcing Nepal and Bhutan to perform a delicate balancing act. The once stable Himalayan fulcrum is now in a state of flux, and the outcome of this change will reshape the strategic map of South Asia for decades to come. China's engagement in Nepal has been transformative, moving far beyond simple diplomatic overtures. Beijing has initiated a massive push under its Belt and Road Initiative, a global infrastructure development strategy. This has translated into tangible projects that promise to reshape Nepal's economic future. China is investing billions in building new highways, constructing modern airports, and most ambitiously, planning a trans-Himalayan railway that would connect Tibet directly to Kathmandu. For a landlocked country like Nepal, which has historically depended almost entirely on Indian ports for its trade, these projects offer the tantalizing prospect of diversification. This new connectivity reduces its reliance on India, providing alternative trade routes and access to the global market through China. The allure of Chinese investment is powerful for a developing nation like Nepal. Beijing offers loans and technical expertise for large-scale infrastructure that Kathmandu has long dreamed of but struggled to finance. This economic embrace, however, is not purely commercial. Each new road, railway, and power plant strengthens China's physical presence and political leverage within Nepal. This growing footprint has extended into various sectors, including telecommunications, where Chinese companies have a significant market share, and hydropower, a key resource for Nepal. The result is a deepening economic interdependence that inevitably influences Nepal's political calculations, pulling it further into Beijing's orbit and away from its traditional alignment with New Delhi. This influence is not limited to economics. It has a clear military and strategic dimension. There are growing reports of increased military cooperation between China and Nepal, including joint exercises and training programs. While modest, these activities signal a shift in Nepal's security posture. Furthermore, China's activities along its border with Nepal have become more pronounced. This includes the construction of new border outposts and increased surveillance capabilities. For India, this is deeply concerning. The open border between India and Nepal, once a symbol of friendship, now presents a potential vulnerability. The prospect of Chinese military or intelligence assets operating with greater freedom so close to India's Gangetic Plains is a strategic nightmare for Indian military planners. The political dimension of China's influence is perhaps the most subtle yet significant. Beijing has actively cultivated relationships with Nepal's political elites, particularly within its communist parties. It has offered ideological training and party-to-party exchanges, fostering a pro-China sentiment within the country's political establishment. This has at times translated into a more assertive and sometimes confrontational stance from Kathmandu towards New Delhi, especially regarding long-standing border disputes. By presenting itself as a reliable alternative partner, China empowers Nepalese politicians to challenge the historical status quo with India, effectively using its economic might to achieve clear geopolitical objectives and weaken India's long-standing influence. Bhutan's situation is markedly different from Nepal's, characterized by a deep-seated caution and a more measured approach to its powerful northern neighbor. For decades, Bhutan deliberately kept its distance from China, choosing not to have formal diplomatic relations. This policy was a cornerstone of its strategy to preserve its sovereignty and unique cultural identity, heavily guided by its special relationship with India. Thimphu has always been acutely aware of what happened in Tibet and is determined to avoid a similar fate. Consequently, it has resisted the allure of grand Chinese infrastructure projects and the financial embrace of the Belt and Road Initiative, preferring its time-tested partnership with India, which has historically been its primary source of economic and military security. However, the strategic calculus is slowly changing, and Bhutan can no longer afford to ignore China completely. The pressure from Beijing is mounting, not through overt economic inducements as in Nepal, but through persistent diplomatic engagement and the unresolved issue of their shared border. For years, China and Bhutan have been engaged in border talks to demarcate their 477-kilometer frontier. These negotiations have become a key channel for direct contact, allowing China to bypass Thimphu's traditional reliance on New Delhi for foreign policy guidance. China has reportedly offered a package deal, proposing to cede territory it claims in the central part of Bhutan, in exchange for Bhutan ceding a strategically important area in the west. The most contentious area in these border negotiations is the Doklam Plateau. This small tri-junction area is critically important to India's security. It overlooks the Siliguri Corridor, a narrow strip of Indian land often called the Chicken's Neck, which connects India's northeastern states to the rest of the country. Chinese control over Doklam would give its military a significant strategic advantage, allowing it to threaten this vital corridor. The 2017 standoff between Indian and Chinese troops in Doklam, which was triggered by a Chinese attempt to build a road in the disputed territory, brought this danger into sharp focus. For Bhutan, this places it in an incredibly difficult position, caught between China's territorial demands and India's non-negotiable security interests. Bhutan is therefore engaged in a careful and precarious dance. It is slowly opening a dialogue with China, recognizing the need to resolve the border dispute and establish a more stable relationship with its powerful neighbor. Recent high-level talks between Bhutanese and Chinese officials suggest that a diplomatic breakthrough on border demarcation might be closer than ever. However, Thimphu proceeds with extreme caution, fully aware that any deal with China must not compromise the security interests of its closest ally, India. Bhutan's challenge is to find a way to appease Beijing and secure its own borders without alienating New Delhi, a task that requires immense diplomatic skill and a clear understanding of the high stakes involved for all three nations. The steady erosion of its influence in the Himalayas has served as a profound wake-up call for India. The growing presence of China in what New Delhi has long considered its natural sphere of influence is a direct challenge to its regional primacy and national security. The Indian government now understands that it can no longer take its relationships with Nepal and Bhutan for granted. Complacency has given way to a more proactive and assertive foreign policy, encapsulated in its neighborhood first doctrine. This policy aims to counter China's strategic inroads by revitalizing India's own engagement, reminding its smaller neighbors of the deep historical, cultural, and economic ties that bind them together. In response to China's infrastructure blitz, India has significantly ramped up its own development and connectivity projects in the region. In Nepal, India is accelerating the construction of cross-border railways, integrated checkposts, and petroleum pipelines to improve trade and transit infrastructure. It is also heavily investing in Nepal's hydropower sector, aiming to position itself as the primary partner in harnessing the country's immense energy potential. Similarly, in Bhutan, India remains the largest development partner, funding everything from new highways to digital initiatives and healthcare facilities. The message is clear: India is willing and able to compete with China and can offer a more sustainable and transparent model of partnership. Beyond economic competition, India is strengthening its security and diplomatic ties. It has increased its military-to-military engagement with Nepal, providing training, equipment, and conducting joint exercises to reinforce its role as the primary security provider. With Bhutan, the security relationship remains exceptionally close, with the Indian military playing a role in training Bhutan's armed forces. Diplomatically, New Delhi has intensified its high-level visits and consultations with both Kathmandu and India, ensuring that this Ultimately, this evolving dynamic in the Himalayas is a microcosm of the larger competition unfolding across Asia. The contest for influence in Nepal and Bhutan is not just about building roads or power plants. It is about shaping the future balance of power in South Asia. India's challenge is to prove that its model of partnership, based on shared values, open societies, and historical affinity, is more appealing than China's state-led, debt-fueled model. The outcome will determine whether the Himalayan kingdoms remain as stable buffers or become new flashpoints in the great power rivalry between India and China. For the entire region, the stakes could not be higher.